We've had a lot of people enjoying RightBlogger Tools Studio, but in this video, I wanted to go over some examples of how you can use Tools Studio and how to prompt it. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Tools Studio in RightBlogger, it is a tool that lets you create tools and then embed them on your website to get email leads or just to promote a link or just to create something useful for your audience. So with that being said, let's dive into 5 examples of what you can make with Tools Studio. Now, first is text generation tools, probably one of the most basic use cases for AI, but basically taking text and transforming it to something else. For example, maybe a text extender, maybe a text compactor, a summarizer, things like that. So for this example, let's make a text expander where a user will enter a phrase or a sentence and it'll expand it into a paragraph. So you can see here, I'm already in Tool Studio. I'm going to hit add new tool. And here is where we add our tool details. So let's explain what we want. A text expander where a user enters their text and is given a longer version. Pretty simple, but let's also note that we want a text area. I want the input to be a text area. When you're prompting in Tool Studio, you definitely want to give as much detail as possible. For example, the tool name or what you want a user to input or what the output should be. But overall, I think what we have right here is perfect. So let's hit create tool and see what we get. This takes about a couple of seconds and we'll get back our tool here. And you can see now we have a text expander tool. And a user can write a short sentence or paragraph. So I can write, I love coffee, and we can test it here, expand text. And you can see here, it expanded the text just like we asked. Now, I think this is a little, maybe way too long. So this is the beauty of Tool Studio. You can actually edit the prompt over here on the left side. So let's see what it came up with here. So it should approximately be 2 to 3 times the length of the original. I'll also add, do not go over a paragraph in length. And then we'll save that. And then let me try this one more time. And you can see now it's a paragraph. The language is still a little complex, so I'll also write, do not use complex language, keep it simple. And then we'll save that one. And let's test it one more time. And you can see it uses a little more simpler words. Of course, my example here is very short, but you get the idea. You can create a tool that modifies text in any kind of way using AI. And if you're unfamiliar with Tool Studio, you also have the options to edit the fields. So if you want to change what the description says or the placeholder, you can do that here. We also have a call to action. So if you want to get email addresses or just send people to a link, you can do that in this option. We also have analytics. We'll show you how many times your tool is used. And if you also are building out a page on your site dedicated to the tool, which we recommend, you can use the landing page copy generator. Like you can see here, it's generating landing page copy. It should come up here in a second. And you can see it made a meta title, meta description, and all of our landing page copy that would be good with this tool and explains why people would want to use it. And then, of course, the most important thing is the embed code. And this is the code that you'll actually use on your site to embed it. And if you need any help or anything like that, feel free to reach out or check out our help documents. So let me go back to Tool Studio and we'll talk about the second example, and that is brainstorming tools. So coming up with specific ideas, brainstorming on a topic with somebody. This could be like brainstorming dog name ideas based on a breed and a personality of a dog. So let's try that. So dog name generator, that's the name of our tool, based on a breed and personality. And then I'll hit create tool and see what we get here. You can see we have our tool here. And we can enter our dog breed. So let's type in pit bull and then our dog's personality. We can pick playful, calm. We'll do intelligent and we'll hit generate names and see what we get here. And you can see it creates a numbered list of dog name ideas. It did 5. And you can see down here in our prompt list 3 to 5 options. You could definitely change this to be like 20 options. Overall, a simple way to make a brainstorming style tool. This is great if you had a dog blog, for example, or a pet blog. You can kind of think of the insane amount of possibilities with just having brainstorming style tools on your site. Now, another example would be planning tools. This would be like planning a hike, planning a vacation, planning places to take pictures, things like that. Now I'm going to go back to Tool Studio and let's try to make a planning tool that actually breaks down a task into smaller steps. So I'm going to hit add new tool here. So here I have to-do list based on a task. This will break down a task into smaller tasks so a user can easily follow through. So I'm going to hit create tool and let's see what we get here. And now you can see we have our task tool here. our to-do list tool. So here's our example, and plan a birthday party. I love that for the placeholder, but let's do organizing my bookshelf. Priority level, let's do low. Deadline, let's write 1 week, and let's hit generate to-do list and see what we get here. And you can see here, we get a step-by-step instruction of actually how to organize the bookshelf. So that is just one little small example of a planning tool. There are so many things that you could do. And if you have things on your site, for example, let's say you had an organizing blog, you could actually add things that you recommend here in the prompt. So if you recommend certain things to do with your books, you could add that here. Or if you have a specific method, just kind of give a whole paragraph there or adds tons of text. And you can actually give the AI a bunch of text and processes that your brand may use or something like that. So the tool is extremely catered to your audience. And I just want to show you editing a field. So the deadline was using a date, which I think was kind of odd. So let's go here to the fields. And we could change the deadline to actually say 1 month. So we'll just change the placeholder to be more like that. So it's not a specific date. And when it's save, and you can see now it says 1 month now. And anything you add here and save, it'll actually update on your site instantly if you already have it embedded on your site. And you can come back here as many times as you want and edit the tool as much as you want. Now let's go back to Tools Studio and talk about our fourth example, and that's a selector tool. That's something that's going to give the user a desired outcome, process, or an action. So that's kind of like the planning tool we talked about, but kind of a couple more steps advanced. So something like a meal planner would be good, where a user picks their goal and then it tells you the meals for the day or the week. So let's try to make something like that. I'm going to write meal planner. Let the user pick their current goal, aka feeling fit, muscle gain, losing weight, a text area of dietary restrictions, and food preferences. Let's see what we get here once we create tool. Now here's our meal planning tool, and you can see here current goal. It actually merged the two fields because it figured that made more sense. I like that. So we have our drop down here, maintaining weight. Let's try that. Vegetarian, gluten-free. I'll just write gluten-free and love steak. And we'll generate the meal plan and see what it comes up with. Now, if you're making a tool like this, you probably have a recipe blog or a fitness blog. So of course, you're going to want to add things to the prompt that make it more customized to specific things you recommend. So over here, you can do that like I showed before, or you can actually add it to the step before that I talked about if you want to add specific things. You know, typically you want to guide people to eggs in the morning, things like that would be an example. And you can see here, we have a whole entire day of lunch with snacks, and overall a pretty good first draft of our tool there that we could embed on our site. Now, the final example I wanted to talk about is an assessment tool. And that is something that gives somebody a personalized assessment based on their input. Now, an example of this would be someone entering their birthday, their name, and the time of day that they were born. And the tool gives them a fortune style telling reading, just something kind of fun depending on your audience. Now, this could also be like a photographer's personality quiz, things like that. Overall, you're going to need to be a little more creative when you're thinking of a tool like this. So let's actually try that fortune one. So I have fortune telling reading based on a user's name, date, and month of birth, and time of day. So let's create the tool. Of course, I don't recommend putting super personalized information on here. So that's why I kind of did a generic date of birth. So you can see here, let me just type my name, Andy. We'll type in a birthday and our time of day for our birth, and we'll do night, and let's see what the fortune is. And you can see it gives us an entire fortune here. I think this is a little bit too wordy, so I would probably edit the prompt. But if you make something like this, you probably have something on your website already in terms of knowledge that you want to add to the prompt to make it more personalized and tuned to your site and your audience. Overall, I hope these examples of tools made with RightBlogger Tools Studio have given you some inspiration to kind of feel what you can make, how to actually interact with the prompting phase when you start making your tool. But overall, just be creative and think of something that your audience would like to actually use and enjoy. And like usual, if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. See ya.